Hello, everybody. I'm Terry McFadden, and welcome to Backstory, the interview series where we step back to go forward and perhaps learn something about our guests that we never knew, and maybe they didn't either. Rick Overton is a comedian, an actor, a TV writer, and a stand-up comic. He is a 40-year industry vet. Rick has starred in numerous HBO and Showtime specials and has had countless stand-up appearances, as well as a couple of hundred guest star, recurring spots, and series regular as an actor, both comedic and dramatic, on many of the hit TV shows over the years, while concurrently working in major films. As a TV writer, he has written for the series The New Adventures of Beans Baxter, tons of bits for television comedy specials, as well as his own current special called Rick Overton's Set List. As a head writer for Dennis Miller, he won an Emmy Award for Outstanding Individual Achievement in Writing for a Variety or Music Program, that being Dennis Miller Live.
Rick okay, good. We're good. We're good.
Rick is ready to rock and roll. Rock and roll. He had no more flattery here. Let's rock and roll.
That's good. There's got a couple of typos in there. I was not head. Eddie Feldman was head writer, but I was one of the writers, and I won an Emmy, and I'm very proud to have it.
That's good. An Emmy's a pretty big deal.
Right. We wrote some good stuff those seasons. We did it.
And Emmy is a pretty big deal. I think that's probably one of the biggest deals that you can get as a writer. I would love to have one myself. Could you tell us about Rick Overton's Set List a little bit? I watched a little bit of that, and I got a kick out of it right away.
Oh, good. Thanks. Well, here's the idea. Set List is they put a screen over here, and then they have all these topic suggestions that you've never heard of. And you turn around, you look, and you start talking like it's been your act the entire time. Right. And one after the next of these suggestions, and that's Set List. It's like a Top Gun game for your improvisational comedy mind. It puts you in and I like to throw myself into an even deeper, harder to get out of pit by really setting up the beginning of what I'm saying, so there can only be one possible answer, and then thrown that is not even close to what I was talking about. Right. Okay. How the hell am I going to get out of this? And it's a 1 hour special of that. And it's called Rick Overton's very first Set List special. And then you can get it on Comedy Dynamics, Amazon Prime.
There was a lot of weird topics going on there too. Like they crossed it all together.
Yeah, nothing remote. It's not dating or airline food at all.
Weird. There was weird stuff on there.
Yeah, that's the challenge. That's the beauty. Troy Conrad, comic genius and just creative genius, and now photographic, artistic genius. If you've seen his work, you've seen his photographic work at the Comedy Store.
Right.
The guy, Renaissance, Da Vinci kind of guy. And also another Da Vinci, Paul Provenza, they got together and they worked to build this game called Set List. It's been a hit over festivals across the world. Wherever there's a comedy festival, a comic gets off that festival and they say, "What did you do?" "Oh, I did Set List." Whoa, yeah. That's like a black belt, That's the fancy stuff. So, they created this game, a challenge to and I try to string them all together where I'm just trying to make one point the entire time. I don't know, can't always do it. Sometimes you go into the wall, but that's some of the fun too, is watching the guy get out of the flaming wreck, grab another car.
Yeah. You keep it going. I mean, you were doing a lot of spins and turns right in the middle of what you were saying. You would stop and then stop short and you jumped right into something else.
Yeah. I let my mind kind of just do that. And I have to remind myself, get back to the point. Remember you made a point, and I go, oh, shit. And so I have to let one go. Well, that didn't really make the point. The next one makes the point. Well, okay, we're back on the point.
Yeah. That's the excitement too. The excitement is watching you get there.
Oh, good. Thanks. That's what I wanted. I wanted you to have kind of an edge of the seat. Where's Rick going to go with it? What the hell is he going to do with this mess he put himself into?
Yes, that's very good.
It's fun for me too, because it's the first time I'm hearing this stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of seat of the pants stuff. And I'll tell you what, it's thrilling because we don't know what you're going to do.
Oh, good. That's exactly, Terry, what I wanted to hear someone say, because that's exactly the objective, is that it's that sense of a thrill coming around the curve. That's why I'm a motorcyclist. That's why I like flying in airplanes. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a roller. It's a roller coaster ride.
Yeah, a roller coaster ride. I like it.
Very good. I was looking at your coming up as a lad in your family, and that your father, Hal Overton, was an arranger for none other than
Add
Thelonious.
one more L, like a hallway. Hall.
Hall he was an arranger for Thelonious Monk,
That's true, sir. He
and
was indeed.
he taught at Juilliard that most people can't even drive by. He was teaching at Juilliard, and listen to this. Your mother was a singer for the Chordettes.
Right.
She sang.
Oh, is that right? Oh my God, is that true?
Yes, Sandman, Lollipop, Lollipop.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you're up in your room doing Jerry Lewis routines or something. How did it happen?
Winters. Dad hit me to Jonathan off the bat.
Jonathan Winter.
Put the needle down on the Jonathan record, and we'd sit there, and I would watch for when he's laughing, and I try to figure out what did he say that made that laugh, and because I started laughing my butt off at him when I saw him on the Sullivan Show or on one of my talk shows. I would die, and now I get it.
Yeah.
Now I get it. It's a whole body commitment to the whole thing. You know, there's so much about it that's not just like a radio show, but it's also he makes sound effects, but he would also, the way he make his face during it. There were all these nuances and character choices you have. I think if you want to be a comedian, you can listen, and that really does help. But it's really extra helpful to see what they're doing timing wise with their body, because it's all one big dance to go along with the song.
Did you study physical comedy? Did you study physical comedy, or did you pick it up as you went?
Yeah, I just picked it up. I can call it studying because I loved it.
Yeah.
So whether it was Laurel and Hardy or Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin or Rowan Atkinson or John Cleese, you know, there's all these wonderful physical guys. Jacques Tati, Peter Sellers, one of the best.
Peter Sellers is the best. Peter Sellers, no doubt, no doubt. I mean, that dentist routine is, I don't think I've ever seen anything funnier in my life. And I've got a dentist appointment on Wednesday. I'm going to see if I can get that gas going.
Only one man could pull the wrong tooth.
That's Clouseau. Kill him. That was, I mean, that's a good imitation.
Oh, Herbert Lom. You know, people are not giving the love and the props to Herbert Lom like he deserved to that, because this is next to Peter. But a Herbert Lom comedy would have been spectacular just on its own.
Totally underrated. Totally underrated to be a foil like that, to be a straight man like that all of those years and all of those series. And he was pretty funny too.
Oh, yeah. And why am I blanking on the other guy with the glasses in The Office? He pulled him, hit the head, right? He was the other guy. Huh?
Cato?
No, not Cato. The other French guy in the police department. Glasses.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He'd run between Herbert Lom, bring messages back and forth, you know?
Right.
And get hurt. Help me up your food. Yeah, pull the tie down and stuff. And then Bert Kwok, wonderful, tireless, unsung Bert Kwok.
Yeah. That whole idea of timing and physical comedy, he did have the best, to your point of that, you know.
It's about as un-PC as you could conceivably imagine now. You could never do that again. And so perhaps
that was one of my questions, because you came up in the 70s when it was Robin Williams, Letterman, Leno, people like that, before the 90s when people like I was doing it a little bit. And can you talk about what you were doing in the 70s? A lot of it's not going to fly today with the cultural things that we have to be careful for, and our language and our nuance and our politically correctness that we have to look out for. Can you tell me the difference of that feeling from when you came up 40 years ago till today? And did it make you work harder, or does it agitate you?
I don't push those same buttons with my act. I'll run into more trouble with my routine if I get into certain places that are a little more strict about their thinking in general.
Right.
I don't say a political side or anything, you know. If they have more strict thinking, they're not going to like my kind of out there stuff about the world, but I tried not to step on those mines and grenades early. I would do a bit to say, you see all these people, these Caucasians go into an Asian restaurant, and as soon as the waiter leaves, they all go, oh, there, dong, 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 dong. But I wonder if all the waiters are in the back going, baseball. I would try to play it the other way and look at both sides, but even that could be a minefield today.
Yeah.
The other people making fun of us, but because the very fact that I did my rendition of them at all is like the minefield now. So look, the idea is out there. I got it out. You got it. I don't need to punch that one anymore. And so there's a million other things to talk about.
Because you did a very funny bit on that when you talked about being a wasp on the Smothers Brothers Young Comedy Special.
Yeah.
That had me laughing like you couldn't believe it. And as I'm sitting there watching that bit, I'm watching you do this bit and nailing this wasp bit as and I'm like, geez, man, he can't do that today. They're not going to let him do that today. They're not going to let him do that today. But this is some of the funniest things that I ever saw.
Well, you know what? There's a ton of my stuff. My 1991 special on HBO is what got me in a lot of political brouhaha afterwards. Because if you really watch it, it's in 5 segments on HBO, on YouTube. And you can see just Rick Overton, HBO, and it'll break it up into segments so you can see it. And just watch from beginning to end, and you'll see what I'm talking about and all the stuff I was calling about today and all the buttons I was pushing. And so it's sort of, changed the course of my stand-up career, but I'm still going to go into my life, into my creative existence, saying what I mean to say, saying what I need to say, saying what I think needs to be said. And it's got to be bigger than us. You can't go into the arts thinking it's about you and just you.
Right.
TikTok short time. You're not going to last long doing it.
Now, people want to hear about them. They want the observational stuff and everything about what's going on in life today.
You bring my table. What are you bringing to help me?
Right.
Okay, that's you talking about you all day, and I can live with a certain amount of that. That's fun, hearing you indulge yourself. But I don't know if I'm going to remember these bits 20 years from now. I'm going to remember every Carlin bit 20 years from now. Yeah. I'm going to remember every Pryor bit 20 years from now. I'm going to remember every Hicks bit 20 years from now. Yeah. Every Jimmy Dore routine I will remember 20 years from now. Lee Camp. So there are guys who bring a message down, right?
Yeah.
And that message, it lasts sometimes even longer than the laughter, than the relevance.
Lenny Bruce.
Back to it.
Go all the way back. Lenny Bruce.
Lenny Bruce broke a lot of walls down, and he did bits you can't remotely possibly do now.
50 years later.
At least.
You can't do any of that now. I mean, that's terrible.
Right. Right. So, adapt and survive.
That is pretty good.
There's the comic that walks in. I don't care where you're at. This is where I'm at. And this show's about where I'm at, and that's it.
And where I'm going.
I got to read the room now. I'm going to have to read this room and see where we're all at once.
Yeah.
See what I might have to, I don't know. I said, always watch the guys ahead of you, and then watch where they killed and where they ate it. And don't step there again. In comedy is the only place where that mine that they stepped on can go off a second time. Real mine, that's it. That's a hole now, It piles right back up. Boom, you step on it right one more time.
It's going to go off again. It's going to go off again.
If you start paying attention, it will.
Yeah. It's going to go off again.
Notes, it will. So I've always run into trouble when I wasn't watching the guys. And it's just, what if he covered a joke that was really similar to the way you were saying it? Some guys, I don't care. I do it either way. And a lot of them get away with it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
The improv brain in me wants to go, then take this as the opportunity to rearrange things and make a new bit.
Very good. I'd like to switch a little bit to your writing. You've done quite a bit of writing over the years. You wrote earlier for the Beans.
I wrote for Dennis Miller. And that is one of here's the deal about writing for Dennis Miller, man. When you're writing every week, we were Friday.
Yeah.
We were Friday about current events when every other writing staff got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday jokes, Thursday jokes. All these jokes, you got to watch all their jokes. So you don't do one of their jokes. They'll get you for that. You got to watch. And what's the jokes that are left? And because of that, it turned into the rant and other things and other ways to do bits that didn't have to wait for the Jay style or the David style or anything like that to work around. It just became its own thing from the beginning. So a lot of those factors had to come into play. So we had to write a new way to do it because it was Friday.
It was Friday, and you're writing for somebody that isn't you. Like when I look at Dennis Miller, I'm seeing a Frank Sinatra type cool guy, next generation, hip type of a, hey man, cool. And you're writing for him. Could you talk about your process when you're writing for somebody else like Dennis Miller, who's a different character than yourself, and you're coming up with that type of, and has to be funny, and you need to know his timing.
He enjoys big and small comparisons, or pop culture to political culture comparison.
Okay.
The analogies. Like I wrote a joke for him. I said, America's educational system is more fucked up than Peter O'Toole on his birthday.
That's pretty bad. Peter O'Toole. That's pretty
up, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
It's not his birthday, right? So
every day is his birthday.
So things like that would be the model I would use for, and then the rants would be, you go to a social issue, and you would also use literary comparisons a lot and things like that. He would like to use references out of books or out of events from history. He would say something has a Maginot line, or along those lines there. So you got to get in, dig up what all of that is.
Yeah.
See how well that worked.
Yeah. That's a bit of a process. That is a bit of a process, but it works, and you got an Emmy out of the deal, so it's really worth it.
It was worth it even without the Emmy, to work with those brilliant people and to be able to say something.
Right.
To get on the air and say something that had an impact, which it was hard to do then, and it's impossible to do now.
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting away with it, but they're not getting away with it in all the same venues, where they used to. They got to go on to YouTube or somewhere else to nail it. They got to go where you are.
Yeah. And they have to do, and people have to be apprised of it before you take it to another platform. And people are going to look at it first and see if there's something that's going to work there. It isn't about the stand-up comic can just go hit his stuff anymore. He's got to be self-editing all the time, and that's not art.
You cut the workload down infinitely when you embrace the concept that you are allowed to do improv throughout. And it's problem solves at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And your conscious mind can never hope to come anywhere close. It wasn't designed to do that. Your unconscious mind is. The other part's just a data retrieval. It just records. The left mind is just a recorder, but the right mind is this wild card. Trust that wild card. Jonathan knew to trust it. Robin knew to trust it. All of the Christopher Guest cast members know to trust it.
Right.
And an infinity of other people do. Who's liners, Second City, whoever. There's all these great people, and they all know this one thing is just trust your right brain.
And they put it together. That's what you do. You put both of them together.
Well, you got to put it in English or wherever you are, and make it into a show, so it's not just Jackson Pollock splatter words, but
right.
You have to, but that's all part of the speed of light process. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. We're improvising the shit out of this right now, and we're doing great. We're
improvising, but I like to talk about Jackson Pollock's splatter. I kind of liked it. I kind of liked when he took his shoes off and put feet in paint and laid it out there in a studio as big as my apartment and just turned it into something. I kind of like that on a personal level because of the bravado he had, just the guts to do that.
He broke You know, you break the rules and then 3 people copy you. Now you're a new rule.
Now you're a convention.
Oh, became a rule.
Yeah.
That's the thing is the second hardest job in the world is being the first abstract painter, because no one knows what you're doing. But the first hardest job in the world is being the second abstract painter, because now everybody compares you to the first.
To the first guy.
And 5 guys later, they go, oh, it's an individual thing with the brush stroke and the da-da-da. And, you know, we didn't have the reference points before.
You didn't have the reference point, like a can of soup is now art. You know, you talk about, right? Listen, like Andy Warhol, a can of soup is now art. 45 minutes of an eye blinking is a film, you know, and studying that in college, I was like, well, what is this? But you're articulating it right. You're saying that art is art until somebody copies you. Then it is a convention. Then it is a form. Tarantino.
Same with comedy.
Same with comedy.
A style becomes a style, and then you see other guys do it and they go, he's kind of doing a Jerry, or, you know,
right,
he's doing a Jay or whatever. Oh, this guy's trying to be Richard or whatever, you know. Lots of guys were trying to be Robin.
Oh, that's a big one.
And look an artist will influence other artists, and you can't get in the way of that part, because eventually people will find their own way in the midst of it. And that's really the principle of that brush stroke thing we were talking about the paintings. It applies to comedy too, right here.
It's about taking a risk then. That's what you're saying.
Partly. And knowing, you risk away from just the thing you were influenced by and copying that.
But that brings up a bigger question.
Added to it, your style, your way of doing it, and you experiment with different things. And, you know, but the truest form will be embraced the soonest when you were the most you doing it, because everybody will see it.
Right.
They can sense that.
Yeah. Being out there, doing your own stuff, taking a risk is one thing. Now, sustaining that and continuing to do that with everybody coming at you, that's something else that you've had experience with. Have you ever felt that, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Have you had that? And what have you done about it for an artist?
It happens on, I won't say frequent occasion, but it happens on semi-regular occasion. You get into a situation. When you watch my special, it happens about 4 times in the special.
But you get out of it.
How do I get the hell out of this? Help, subconscious, help. And it does. And sometimes you have to break the rules a little bit and not completely make the theme the whole way through. And then try to do your best, be human, come back and get it on the next one, you know? So I'll admit, it's an imperfect theme if I'm going to say I was doing one thing the entire time. But maybe on my next special, if that ever occurs, I'll get it down to have it where I'm making one point the entire time. Giant, random chaos, crock of shit pile of suggestions that are, you know, they're not crock of shit. I mean, I'm just totally full of shit while I'm Liars Club patching this stuff together like Frankenbit, you know?
Yeah.
To me, that's the fun. It's alive.
That'll work. That's the Blob. Let's see where it goes.
That's the Blob. Let's see where it goes. You got it.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking when I see that. When I see people going out there and doing something different, like your work. You got to look. People don't look at, hey, that was 40 years ago when he did something. Nobody was doing that. Look at it now. People are doing that. Where did you get that? Well, I'm influenced by this guy, and this guy. You know?
Yeah, and my dad loved improv. He was a jazz guy, and so his influence were about the right brain too. He used his right brain when he made music, and he knew that improv was communication. When the guys would be playing together in a combo, they would do little things to each other like that, and the other guys would start laughing while they're playing, you know. And they were joking and poking each other in the ribs with music.
Right.
They were fucking with each other a little bit, but it was magic, and it was it was like a dolphin language.
Yeah.
They were speaking through these instruments.
everything's going back to jazz. Even Jack Kerouac, when he started writing, was writing jazz in his prose. You know, a lot of that was coming through because, like you said, it goes from the ear, I think, to the right brain. You were talking about the right brain a moment ago, and I think the improv has a whole lot to do with coming in and being manufactured through that right brain. Do you think?
Yeah, third eye and right brain. Those are your two friends. Or another way. You want another word? Your gut. They
Gut,
say, how many times has your gut saved your life, right?
visceral.
In traffic. And the guy, how did I just know to switch lanes like that? My brain would never have taken me there. I thought, well, I wonder if he has insurance. And, you got to be in your gut. No, animal goes, get out. House on fire.
Yeah, I think it's all visceral, very all visceral. I'm talking about, I read somewhere where you have a hobby about, maybe you did this as a kid, where you were putting model cars and airplanes together. And if you didn't find parts, you were the first MacGyver. You would take like parts out of things out of your house and put that.
Well, I'd say I was an early scratch builder, and it got me some work doing special effects on a show on Sci-Fi 21 years ago called The Secret Adventures of Jules Verne. It was a steampunk. We were one of the first steampunk series. We were one of the first series to use 24p cameras that were the spare leftovers from George Lucas's second 3 films. And we wrote some of the book on how to use a 24p digital camera. And we had some of the best special effects on air at the time. And they would use my designs. So I was a big fan of the guy who designed the Nautilus for 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Harp Goff. And so we got to meet, and he coached me on how to build these things. And so I would take little parts and doodads and things, and I'd make my flying machines from the 1800s and stuff. And that got me a job being the designer for the creative consultant designer on the show. It would hand over to Meinert Hansen and Philip Stamp, and they would turn it into the real looking thing. 2 weeks after I made a rough sketch, I'd be walking on the set and it's built.
Wow, pretty good.
3 weeks maybe, but I would come help and build it a little bit, but I come back and it's built, And I just watch on YouTube, Secret Adventures of Jules Verne. So your life can be lots of different things along this crazy way, and imagine what you learn if you don't just define yourself as what everyone told you were.
What are you putting your attention on is what you're going to be following, and it doesn't have to be,
keep your eye on a few different things at once.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one thing, it doesn't have to be any particular thing, but being open to it's going to allow you to gel if it's for you.
You find each other. If you don't like it, it's going to show, right?
Absolutely.
It's everyone will know.
Yeah. I think
might as well just do what you have to move on. Yeah,
absolutely. That's pretty good advice. Rick, you've worked a lot over the last 40 years, and I know that we have some people in here that are actors and writers, and I'm just wondering, aside from your talent, you're a talented man, obviously, aside from that, what do you think it is that has kept you just going where other people would say, I'm going back to Missouri, I'm going back to Norfolk, I'm going back, what can you talk about that? Because it's pretty, it's not that every day.
Well, I've been very lucky. I've had the opportunity to work relatively steadily, giving me no reason to think in terms of abandonment of anything. Now since the pandemic, of course, it's been a very tricky time, and that's to be understood and compensated for. There's nothing any of us can do about this part right now. And don't use this as the metric for how one's career will proceed in general.
Yeah.
Extraordinary circumstances. So you can't really, ignore that part when you're looking at yourself in the mirror. You can't go, I'm a failure this last 18 months. You're leaving you left the setup of the joke out, man. That's why no one's laughing. They don't know what the punchline means.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm going to ask you one more question before we open it up, because I was startled about this claim that you made, and you're calling yourself a self-claiming imperfectionist. Now, listening to you for a half an hour, I get it, but could you tell me a little bit more about a self-claiming imperfectionist? Hey, this is who I am.
I'm an imperfectionist because that's a goal you can reach every day. And why not pat yourself on the back for irrelevant, stupid stuff like that? And it's a joke that's just to let you off the damned hook.
Okay.
You know that hook that we're some of us on? They were hooked when we were little kids, some little hook we're on, some psychological blaming thing.
Yeah.
You didn't put yourself there. Someone hung you on a hook and you just left it in your shirt and you wear the shirt every day and you forgot it's there. And that's the hook. Blame it. The stuff that can't possibly be your fault is somehow you get to interject your name so that you can, I'll accept the blame just so I hear my name somewhere. It's one of those, right? Well, you don't need it. And it's certainly not going to carry anybody any further, especially in a pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's ridiculous to accuse yourself of anything. How could I not have succeeded further in the pandemic when people are throwing streets and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
The fact that you are breathing, your lights are on, you're talking to me, you did it.
Right.
You nailed it.
It's kind of a cool spin on self-help. It sounds like a show to me. That sounds like a show, the self-claiming imperfectionist,
Imperfectionism is just about accepting and forgiving yourself and not blaming yourself when the blaming thing is not coming from completely healthy perspective. I'm sorry if it was someone who was an authority in your life. That doesn't mean they got fed all the right food.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good. And that's generational.
Yeah. And rather than go to a blame place for those other people, just realize they've been hit with that too. And it's just echoing out of them. But you can not perpetuate it. You can choose not to take it one step further.
We're getting a psychology class.
You got to improv after that. You got to see what you're going to do on your own after that.
Right.
And you're up to it. Yes, and.
Love it. We got a bit of psychology going here too at this show. Nice job. Appreciate that. Let's open it up for questions for Rick. Anybody out there? Please either speak up or hit your hand. And Rick's here to answer questions for a little while, and let's do it. Who's up? Scott, go ahead.
Hey, Rick. Scott Shimamoto, LA-based comic. I'm writing.
Hey, you switch backgrounds, man.
Yeah, I wanted you to see me on stage. You know what I mean? Like in my element, which is
not at the Olympics. I was waiting to see at the Olympics.
Well, okay. First of all, Terry, you're doing a great job of this interview. You're completely prepared, and you're making it look like you're just coming off the top of your head, which is all the comics want to do that, right, when they're on stage.
Oh, thank you so much. Rick, he's a good subject.
Definitely. I wanted to ask you, Rick, because you're multi-talented, obviously. I'm working on several projects. I'm trying to create my own shot because what I want to do is more comedy gigs. And it's not necessarily how funny you are, it's who's going to come and see you in the club. And so I'm trying to write a movie starring myself. I'm trying to do possibly creativity coaching because I cracked the code on like how I can release my mind to create. So my question to you is, when you have like these different aspects of your life, how do you choose what to focus on? Like what did you do to focus on what is going to allow you to get to that next step and not be scattered like I am right now?
I think maybe it's semantics, that maybe you're calling scattered this period of time when you're just looking at options. But bringing a perspective from before, when you always have, man has to have a plan and you got to stick to the plan, but that doesn't always work here. Sometimes you got to let circumstance find you a little bit. But you know what I recommend to you, man, is get into improv, because it develops the part of the mind that recognizes these windows and opportunities in life. Because improv is you're a hunter the entire time. You're a cooperative hunter. And you're looking for these little windows where you either have something that could be funny for you, or you could help someone else get their laugh. And that is as big a trophy to take home for you as the other. And that other part of your brain just gets bigger and bigger and stronger until it is a dominant force in your creative life. Because you put it through all these exercises that were just fun. You didn't even know it was an exercise. Even the good days, the bad, oh, that was a stinker, too bad. it's building. Tomorrow, it's going to be twice as strong. It's just the way it works. And some of these questions I can't answer, but you can, having done that process. Do you see what I'm saying? That rather than me tell you, here's the map that I did for me, I say, you do this exercise, you see your own map. It makes your eyes see them. That the path just goes blink. Oh, there it is. Right in front of me the whole time. It's, how's that?
I'm looking at so many different projects that I end up not finishing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Don't put yourself through that. No, it's not about, I told you which project to finish. You know, that's not you being you. You know what I mean, man? You guys, you gotta find the thing that your intuition tells you is the place to go next. It has to come out of you though. And so improv kind of opens that up. You find it by doing that. One day you'll just sit and look at the inspiration just took me to here. That was it. You don't even know the size of the auspice of what just happened right there. But it's like, here. Okay. And it works because inspiration was there. That's the thing. You're talking about, you're not inspired to go back to any of these other things. They're just sitting there. That's why, because there's no inspiration. So I'm talking about, so that's the added ingredient for the recipe.
That's right.
And that's the exercise that makes it clear. Does that help?
My mind to when I tell myself, okay, I'm going to finish this, I do finish. But again, you know, like
no, that's discipline, and that's not the same thing. That's you're punishing yourself into doing something and you begrudgingly drudge through it. Inspiration is, I gotta do this. Nothing's more important right now. I gotta get this down because I can feel this coming out of me. I don't want this to be gone. I don't want it to miss the page. And you get more of those. It opens up the channel for them. And do you have a way to find out how to do that for you? Is there a means by which? Your sound is down. Bring your sound. Yeah. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Mute it, Scott.
I just got to talk louder, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. More?
A little more.
I gotta yell here.
We got you, Scott.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. That was very helpful.
Thank you,
Good.
Scott.
God, find a way to do it. Invent a way to do it. Improvise a way to do it. But I'm telling you, it's the exercise that builds this, and there's not a lot of other ways to get there.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
I believe Anton has a question. Anton?
Hey, Rick, thanks for doing this. I'm very, very intrigued specifically by your time with Mr. Miller. I've been a huge fan of his for a very long time, since I think, God, what's the guy's name? I just forgot it. This is middle-aged brain. Lorne Michaels said that everyone's favorite SNL cast is when they were in high school. And sure enough, Dennis Miller was on SNL when I was in high school. And when I read that about your biography, I just wanted to know anything you can share about what it was like to work with him, for him, coming up with material for him. Just
you come in,
you can share.
You write a rant, you write a monologue, and did you hear earlier what I was saying about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to watch everybody else's stuff because they kind of covered.
That was actually really intriguing.
I wanted that joke. God damn.
Yeah. No, that actually really grabbed me when you said
Friday,
there.
You did it on Wednesday.
Yeah. No, yeah, because I was thinking when I was a teen in early 20s and I was watching all the late night shows, and everybody, whatever news bit came up that week, everybody had a bit on it. And I remember thinking at the time, how do Leno and Letterman avoid not walking over each other with this? So when you said that about, we had Friday, I was like, oh man, that just sounds brutal.
So we just had
Yeah.
to change the style, and do a rant,
Right.
which guys weren't doing. And there would be overlap, of course. You
Right.
just can't avoid it. And sometimes the joke is so obvious that
Yeah.
you just hope you didn't use the exact wording the other guy did.
Right. Right.
Dennis could get away with that because of the eloquence with which he could embellish the bit.
Right.
So we would try to work on embellishments and stay with those comparisons, do the analogies, and
Yeah.
that big small formula. And lots of comedians use that. And
Yeah.
it's a solid formula, you guys out there doing this. You
Yeah.
use the big and the small. It almost never fails in comparisons.
Sure. Sure. And I'm curious. I again, whatever you're comfortable sharing. Why your work with him then? Have you guys continued to work together since then, and I'm just not aware of it?
No. I think perhaps our politics have taken our ships a little further apart, though I still care about him as a person.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Rick, but I've
I'll
been
be grateful for the old days,
Yeah, I don't know about you, Rick, or you, Terry, but I've actually had a struggle the last few years myself of as a comedy fan of like, wow, I really like this person's comedy. Like I think they're hilarious, but the more I read about their opinions on things, the more I'm like, oh. And I know that there is a separation between the art and the artist, but I don't know. Sometimes I really struggle with that.
The way family members, you don't all line up politically, but you still their family.
Yeah.
I don't actually talk to most of my family, so no, I don't.
Well, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying, but a lot of people do, and they just find. So Dennis and I just find a way around it. We both know, we're smart. We know
Sure.
what to say, what not to get into, what the point would be of it.
Sure.
Being able to compartmentalize is a bigger virtue than having the fight. If you can compartmentalize what they do and what they works for you, let the politics over there.
Well, just choose your battles. Don't waste a battle and a friendship for nothing like that, because it's not going to get you anything you ultimately wanted. And all you didn't prove anything to anyone that needed to hear it.
Right. And you didn't change
Yeah,
anybody's
you threw
mind.
friendship away, and it's some people patently refuse. I refuse to be friends with a person who whatever. But and when it's like family, and it is like family with him, so I don't bring it.
Yeah.
And someone will always judge that, and that's just the way it's going to have to go.
That's pretty smart. Great. Paul Zeidman, you have a question for Rick, please?
I do. Actually, I have two questions. The first one is really, so when you were starting out with comedy, because, a lot of us here are writers. And so I'm trying to, I guess you call it, develop my comedy writing skills, just like putting out stuff that I think is funny. Sometimes it hits with my readers, sometimes it doesn't. I accept that. So I just keep pushing through, just trying to develop my skills. Hopefully it'll improve, start to appeal to more people. So when you were starting out, how did you work on developing your comedy, really about the writing skills? And the second question is, I'm sure you get this question a lot, but I would still love to hear it. Tell us about when you and Kevin Pollak were doing Willow, because he gets that kind of question all the time about, of all the roles that the two of you have done, people keep coming back to the two of you in Willow as the brownies. And I've heard his version a lot, but I would love to hear your take on it as well.
Which one do you want first?
The writing one.
Which one?
The writing one, please.
How did I get into writing? Well, the method by which I was writing was sketch with a comedy partner named Roger Sullivan, and a little before that with Overton and Pastor. Anthony Pastor and I were in high school, and we would write skits. For assembly, but we got laughs in the skit, doing voices, sound effects, pretending to be the helicopter traffic report. The helicopter's breaking down. It's going to try to avoid Route 4 in New Jersey. There's about to be an accident, then he went off to do his world, and I was kind of lost in 73. I didn't know what I was 72, 73. I didn't have a partner. I thought I needed a partner. And then met Roger Sullivan, and we formed another team, Overton and Sullivan, and we were doing more wild, abstract, Monty Python-ish kind of stuff. And we went 5 years. And the thing about being in a team is you start writing your part. I'll be the guy who says these things. And then he says, well, I'm the guy who says these things. But then you start writing for the other guy. Why don't you say this? Well, now, wait a minute. That's like kind of my territory. And I said, oh, no, what, are you going to write the whole thing? And then you start fighting over who brought more to the table, the premise or the punchline guy, and who's paying for gas, who bought the car. Because they're just paying you once for the same increment of time, regardless of how many people are on stage, whether it's one guy at a mic or two guys at two mics. It's one check. So you start fighting over the check, and that destroys the team. You know, it's like the marriage fighting over money. But yeah, but the writing elements were in there, and I would say that the writing for me in sketch was about a character's voice. And so you'd see, even when I was writing jokes and bits, I would do the people in the bits of act outs, you know. And I recommend, you heard my other stuff. It's sort of, I'm going to go back to it, and I hate to sound repetitious, but not so much to not do it. So improv is what you're doing when you're writing originally. You're just doing it from your fingertips.
Right.
And then it has to be an improv. You're either improvising or plagiarizing, and there's no third option. So study improv.
No, that's
And
great.
apply
That's great
to writing.
Okay, that's great.
It's the same. It's probably going to be me saying the same thing all day. It's the same place for everybody.
Okay.
All your answers will be found in that place where we don't even know the right question yet. It'll show up and you go, oh, that was the answer. And we have to, and it is about relinquishing a degree of control we thought made us safe.
Okay, yeah. One of the things I try to do, especially writing comedy, is that I'll immediately like come up with a joke or maybe like a punchline or some kind of like end to a situation. I'll think, okay, is this too similar to what I've seen before? Okay, how can I make this? How can I make this different so like you don't see the end coming, or it's a total surprise? Because I don't want to have like someone say, well, I've seen this joke before. I've heard that kind of thing before.
Well, now you're about two different things here. Yeah, we're describing two different things. One is someone recognizes the bit and they've heard it before, and the other is just doing two different things. So I don't know. I would say you have to familiarize yourself with your peers.
Okay.
Listen to who's doing what in the zeitgeist of the medium, and place the different sets on YouTube of people talking. If you put up a comedy and then a topic, and it usually just takes you to all the videos of people talking about that topic. And then you go, and then there's Occam's razor a little bit after that, chop, 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 and what's left, right? And then a little bit of that Occam's razor is also in the voice doing it. Because look, there's no cop out there busting every guy that has a similar dating or airline food joke. They're all doing it. No one's stopping them. They're not stopping. But if you want a personal matter of pride to be, I'm the guy that does something outside of all of that, it has to come with familiarization of the environment.
Okay, no, that's good. That's really good stuff. So I'm hoping you can also address the second question, which is about your experience filming Willow.
Ron approached me and said, who'd be a fun guy to work with? And I thought, with our sizes and everything, Kevin and I would be great, like a frickin' frack. It's a classic comedy team combo kind of thing. And I loved teams, and it was a chance to be back in a team, And he would do impressions on the set and have everybody in stitches. And we would do improv shticks, and there were outtakes. And we would work some days with Ron, and other days we'd be on the other unit, and it would be George directing us. And George would have a different approach. He just watch it go, he walk on, faster, funnier.
Right, right.
Got
Fantastic.
it.
Great.
Oh
All right,
man,
thank
we
you
had
so
a lot of
much.
times, and we wrote some of our own shtick in the movie, you know, and I helped design my own. The guy's like a yuppie jerk off a little bit, you know, with the spiky hair, Frangine. And I just said, remember when yuppies were all wearing the sweater with the arms tied like a little knot hanging down like a tie in front of them? Remember that? Do you guys all
Oh,
remember
Yeah, I remember
Oh,
that.
yeah, I remember.
douchey thing from the 80s? And so I
Yeah.
just thought that as my character. And so I have my rat with the arms tied like that. You know? And so they let us have a lot of input and come up with our own shtick and jokes. And I and Kevin came up with a, you know, all the sounds, you know.
Yeah.
And so we had a great time. It was 5 straight weeks of shooting. We didn't work with anybody else. People ask me, what was it like to work with Val? And you go, wait, you realize I'm not with Val. I'm not this size with Val. He's pre-shot. I'm looking at a monitor of a replay, and then I'm on a blue screen stage. We held the record for the most amount of blue screen of anyone, surpassing of Little People spliced into a film, surpassing Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Oh my God.
Mm.
So I'm sure Sean he was very resentful about our taking that away. You bastards. I'll do League of Ordinary Gentlemen next, but I open doors for women.
That's pretty good.
That is great.
That's pretty.
Thank you so much.
I realize. I'm sorry. No sacrilege.
No. I love to hear that. We'd love to hear a couple of bits if you want to do them.
Oh, we'll just improvise. Don't worry about
Okay.
it. Planned. Nothing planned.
All right. Very good, Paul. Who's next? Who's got a question next? Is that you, Jamie? No? Anybody else have a question? All right, well, I have a question then. I'll do one more or so. It's I've noticed that listening to you for this last 50 minutes that a lot of what you're saying, you're including, and I don't know if you're doing this subconsciously, which is a theme of yours, you're including a psychological element that's going on in people's heads when you're talking about that. Have you studied any of that in college, or how do you know about what's handed down from generation to generation and stuff like that? Eyes and ears? The 5 senses, but it's
Pay attention.
pretty pristine.
Just pay attention. It's pattern establishment. What
Right.
does someone do over and over? As a character actor, you would see what someone does over and over and go, well, that's a little thing I could do as them, you know? And then go, but why do they do it? And then you look into why. What makes them do that over and over again? And you don't get a certificate for that, but it's just part of your job when you're studying people. So I don't know, your certificate is you got the acting job, maybe,
Right.
you know, but it seems like knowing people doesn't always have to have a plaque on the wall. And not everybody with a plaque on the wall really knows people.
Very good. Very good. Okay, we're still open for question. Who might have a question? Anybody else have a question? If you have a second question, that's okay too. We got 3 or 4 minutes here. And if not, I would like to ask Rick if there's anything you're promoting, anything we could watch. Is there anything you'd like to direct us to?
Once again, let's remind everybody, Comedy Dynamics, Rick Overton's very first set list special. And on Amazon Prime, it's a 1-hour improvised comedy special. And if you don't have Prime and you're wondering about renting it or anything like that, have a look at some of the free set lists I've done on YouTube.
Oh, they're good.
So to give you an idea of what this is a whole show about that. Now you got a little sample there.
Yeah. I
You can
recommend
also
that.
rent it through YouTube as well.
That's what?
You can also rent it through YouTube as well.
Oh,
Is
okay.
that right?
That's Clay.
Oh, thank you for, I didn't know that part. I'm such a Luddite. Oh, thank you for the detail. Now I'm going to say that. I appreciate you having said so. Thanks. Great.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. All right.
One quick mantra before we end. If you could say something to your younger self, Rick, to the Rick of 50 years ago, what would it be?
Be in Ixtapa, Mexico by 2016.
That's a pretty good ending note. That's a pretty good ending note. I'd like to thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show. It was very delightful. Glad to have you. And
No, it was fun. The time flew by. I don't even know it was an hour.
it's
'cause
an
we were
hour,
just-
Rick.
I'm talking is all.
There's a lot of gold here in these Star Hills, and we're going to be happy to mine it out. We're going to be happy to
Oh, great.
mine this gold out here from you, and most appreciated. Most
Oh,
appreciated.
same here. And thanks for spreading the word. And guys, what's the main thing I'm talking about today?
Everybody,
Someone send a message. The word. I want
Improv.
everybody-
improv. Scott,
What?
Set
Improv.
list.
Come on. Let's see it.
Stephanie,
Improv.
Anderson, Sydney,
YouTube, Amazon
Improv.
Prime.
Improv.
And YouTube.
improv,
Improv and YouTube. Yeah, the two of them.
improv. All right, I'm going to stop the
Nice.
recording. Thank you
This
so
was fun.
much.